He didn't expect to step into the ER that night. Alexander Gray, a cold, distant CEO who had buried every piece of his past, only came because the hospital had called him with no details. But the moment he walked through the doors, everything inside him stopped. Two little girls, identical tiny, trembling, ran toward him with tears in their eyes. "Daddy," the word shattered him. He didn't even know their names. He didn't even know he was a father. And when he saw who was fighting for her life on the hospital bed, his world collapsed. Alexander Gray didn't believe in surprises. Life, business, relationships, everything was numbers, facts, control. That was how he survived, how he built an empire, how he kept the world from touching the broken parts of him. So when his phone rang at 11:47 p.m., displaying St. Clair General Hospital, he immediately frowned. Hospitals didn't call CEOs. He answered anyway. "This is Alexander Gray." A woman's voice responded, trembling with urgency. "Sir, you're listed as the emergency contact for a patient. We need you to come. It's urgent." Emergency contact? For who? His mind scanned through the only names that mattered. Business partners, associates, distant relatives he barely spoke to. No one fit. "Who is the patient?" he asked sharply. "I can't give details over the phone," the nurse replied. "But please, hurry." Then the line went dead. Alexander stood there in his dim penthouse, phone still pressed to his ear, the city lights glowing behind him. Something twisted in his chest, a feeling he didn't recognize. Unease, fear, memory. Against every logical bone in his body, he grabbed his keys and left. The Earth's hospital was loud, chaotic, buzzing with fluorescent lights and panic. Alexander walked in briskly, scanning for someone who could explain why he'd been dragged here in the middle of the night. A receptionist approached him. "Sir, are you Alexander Gray?" "Yes." Her expression shifted: pity, recognition, something heavy. "Follow me." They walked through the ER, passing gurneys, coughing patients, crying families. But Alexander saw none of them. His mind was spinning. Who would list him as an emergency contact? Why? He didn't have time to ask, because the moment he turned the corner, two tiny figures stood there. Two little girls, maybe 4 years old. Twins. One held a torn teddy bear. The other had tear-streaked cheeks and trembling lips. The instant they saw him, both gasped. Then they ran straight toward him. Their little voices cracked as they shouted, "Daddy." Alexander froze. Completely, absolutely. His heart slammed against his ribs as the girls wrapped themselves around his legs, clinging to him like they'd known him forever. "Daddy." No, that wasn't possible. He had no children. He lived alone. He didn't, but the little one with the teddy bear looked up at him with wide hazel eyes he'd seen before, eyes he had tried to forget. "Daddy," she whispered again. "Mommy said you'd come." His breath stopped. "Mommy." He swallowed hard, voice barely working. Who is your mother?" Before the girls could answer, a nurse rushed over. "Sir, the girls are scared. They haven't stopped crying since their mother was taken in." Alexander felt the hallway tilt. Their mother. Who is she? The nurse hesitated, as if unsure how to deliver the blow. "Her name is Lena Hart." The world shattered around him. Lena, the only woman he had ever loved. The woman he had pushed out of his life 5 years ago. The woman he thought he'd never see again. His throat tightened painfully. The nurse continued gently. "She collapsed at home. It's serious." She kept whispering your name before she lost consciousness. His heart punched the inside of his chest. "What happened to her?" he demanded. "She's in critical condition," the nurse said quietly. "And, sir, we need to talk about the girls." He looked down at them again, two little girls holding on to him as if letting go would break them. One had Lena's eyes, the other had his nose, his jawline, his hair. A truth he never expected slammed into him. They were his daughters. His legs felt weak. He had to place a hand on the wall to steady himself. The little girl with the bear sniffled. "Mommy said if she got sick, you'd come, you'd keep us safe." Her sister looked up with trembling lips. "Are you staying, Daddy? Please don't leave." Alexander felt something crack open inside his chest. Something raw, something he had sealed away the moment he walked away from Lena. He knelt slowly so he was eye level with them. Up close. It was impossible to deny. They were his. He didn't know how he missed it. He didn't know why Lena never told him. He didn't know anything except, "I'm here," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm not leaving you." Both girls threw their arms around his neck, sobbing into his suit. And for the first time in years, Alexander Gray, cold, controlled, untouchable, held someone with trembling hands. He stood, carrying the girls in his arms, as the nurse gently touched his shoulder. "Sir, Lena is asking for you." His heart stopped. She was awake, barely, but awake. His daughters clung tighter. He whispered to them softly, "Let's go see Mommy." As he stepped toward the ICU doors, the weight of everything hit him at once. He wasn't just walking toward an old lover. He was walking toward the family he never knew he had. A family he might lose before he even had the chance to fight for them. And it terrified him more than anything in his life. The ICU doors slid open with a hiss, releasing the sharp scent of antiseptic and cold air. Alexander stepped inside, one twin in each arm, their tiny hands gripping his shirt in fear. Monitors beeped steadily, echoing through his bones as he approached the bed where Lena lay pale still, fragile in a way he had never seen. He felt something twist violently inside him. This wasn't the Lena he remembered. She had always been firebright, stubborn, unbreakable. Now she looked like someone fighting to stay tethered to life. A nurse gently touched his arm. "Sir, we'll take the girls for a minute so you can speak to her." Both little girls cried instantly. "No. Daddy, stay. Don't go." Alexander knelt quickly, pulling them close. "I'm not going anywhere. I promise. I just need to talk to Mommy for a moment." Their wet lashes trembled, but they nodded. A nurse guided them to a small chair near the corner, giving them crayons and a coloring sheet to keep their hands busy. Alexander turned back to Lena. His chest tightened at the sight of her. She was breathing, but every breath looked like a battle she was barely winning. He stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper. "Lena." Her eyelids fluttered weakly. Then slowly, painfully they opened. Her eyes, still the same warm brown he remembered, searched the room. Confusion, weakness, and then recognition hit her. Her voice cracked. He swallowed hard. "I'm here." She blinked, tears pooling. "The girls. They're okay. They're right here," he said, glancing at them. "They're safe." Relief washed over her face, but it was brief, quickly replaced by exhaustion. Lena tried to sit up, but a sharp pain made her gasp. Alexander stepped forward instantly, his hand hovering near her shoulder but not touching, afraid of hurting her. "What happened?" he asked, voice low and thick. She looked away, and right then, he knew. She didn't collapse out of nowhere. She didn't land in the ICU by chance. Something deeper, something painful had been hidden beneath her silence. Lena's lips trembled. I didn't want to call you. I didn't think I had the right." He stared at her, stunned. "You listed me as your emergency contact." She let out a faint, broken laugh. "I listed you 5 years ago. Before you left." His throat tightened. She never changed it. She never replaced him. Even after he walked away. "Lena," he whispered, guilt burning through him. She closed her eyes tightly, fighting tears. "I tried so hard. I don't have anyone else, Alex. My parents are gone. I raised the girls alone. I worked 2 jobs. I did everything I could, but..." Her voice cracked. "But my body, it finally gave up." Alexander felt the floor disappear beneath him. 5 years, 2 children, life-threatening exhaustion. All without him. Lena turned her head slightly, her gaze softening when it landed on the twins in the corner. "They're good girls. They're brave. They don't deserve any of this." Alexander's eyes burned. "Why didn't you tell me? Lena, why didn't you call? Why didn't you?" "Because you left," she whispered, silence loud. Suffocating silence. She didn't say it with anger. She said it like a fact, like gravity. "You walked away from us before you even knew about them. I wasn't going to beg you to stay." Her voice trembled. "I wasn't going to force you into a life you didn't want." He felt the words like knives under his ribs. She thought she was saving him. She thought she was protecting the girls from rejection. She thought she was doing the right thing. But the truth was he should have stayed. He should have fought. "I didn't know," he whispered, his voice breaking. "If I had known." She cut him off with a faint shake of her head. "You didn't want a future with me even when it was just us. How could I believe you'd want one with children too?" Alexander opened his mouth, but no sound came out. She was right. 5 years ago, he wasn't ready. He was too broken, too afraid of being vulnerable, too convinced he would ruin everything he touched. But now he stood there watching the woman he once loved fight for her life. Now he had 2 daughters, who cried when he stepped 2 feet away. Now he knew what losing them would do to him. The thought of something happening to Lena made his hands tremble. He pulled the chair closer and sat beside her bed, voice barely steady. "Lena, I'm not the same man who left." Her eyes softened, but there was pain behind them. "People don't change that easily, Alex." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Maybe not, But something happened tonight. What? She whispered. He looked at her, really looked at the woman who carried his children, who survived heartbreak, who fought through life alone. I realized what I lost, and what I could still lose. Her breath hitched. Just then, a cough escaped her, deep and painful. The monitors beeped sharply. Nurses rushed in, adjusting machines, checking her vitals. Alexander stood quickly, panic seizing him. What's happening? He demanded. She needs rest, a nurse said firmly. Her body is extremely weak. The twins looked up, frightened again. Daddy, one cried softly. He went to them immediately, kneeling as they ran into his arms again. It's okay, he whispered, though his voice shook. I'm right here. I'm not leaving. They clung to him, their tiny arms wrapped around his neck. When he looked back at Lena, her eyes were half open, filled with tears she couldn't shed. Don't, she whispered hoarsely. Don't let them be alone. His throat closed. They won't be, he said, voice trembling with a promise he felt in his bones. I'm here. I'll take care of them. I'll take care of you. Her mouth curved into the faintest smile, the first he had seen. Then her eyes fluttered shut as exhaustion pulled her under again. Alexander stood there, holding his daughters, staring at Lena's fragile form. And in that moment, he made a silent vow. He would not fail them again. Not his daughters, not Lena, not the family he never knew he had, but would die to protect now? Alexander stood frozen. The twins wrapped around him like they were afraid he might vanish. Lena's monitors beeped in a steady rhythm, but every fragile rise of her chest sent a tremor through him. He had never felt fear like this. Not when he left. Not when he started his new life. Not even when he convinced himself he didn't need anyone. But now, watching Lena battle for breath, watching their daughters cling to him, he felt like the ground beneath him had cracked open. A nurse approached quietly. Sir, she'd be sedated for a few hours. Her body needs absolute rest. He nodded, though his throat felt like it was closing. Is she going to be okay? He asked. The nurse hesitated. We hope so. But she's severely dehydrated. Her iron levels are dangerously low, and her heart is under strain. She's been pushing herself far beyond her limits. Alexander lowered his head. Of course she had, because he wasn't there. He hugged the twins, tighter, their tiny fingers gripping his shirt as if they sensed everything. Daddy, is Mommy gonna die? One whispered. The word sliced him open. No, he said immediately, voice trembling. No, sweetheart, Mommy is strong. She's going to fight, and I'm going to be right here with her. The girls pressed their faces into his chest, tears soaking his shirt. He carried them back to the chairs, sitting down with both of them on his lap. Their small bodies fit perfectly against him, as if they had always belonged there. He brushed their hair gently, still in disbelief. My daughters, 5 years. I missed everything. Are you hungry? He asked softly. Both shook their heads. Do you want water? No. They only tightened their hold. Alexander exhaled shakily. He didn't know how to be a father. He didn't know how to comfort 2 little girls whose mother lay unconscious just a few feet away, but he was trying. For the first time in his life, he was truly trying. He looked over at Lena again. Her face was pale, her lips dry, her hands limp at her sides. The same woman who once argued with him about everything, who challenged him, who loved him without fear, now lay silent and still. He whispered under his breath, Lena, why did you go through all this alone? Guilt flooded him, more powerful than anything he had felt in years. A doctor entered, clipboard in hand. Mr. Hale. Alexander stood, holding both girls' hands. Yes. The doctor gave him a knowing look. She's been battling exhaustion and untreated anemia for a long time. Add stress, lack of sleep, multiple jobs, and raising twins alone. He sighed. Her collapse was inevitable. The reality hit Alexander like a punch. She didn't fall. She didn't faint. Her body broke after fighting too long on its own. Will she wake up? He asked. Yes, the doctor said gently, but recovery will take time. She'll need support. Support. A word Alexander had never truly given her. He looked down at the twins. 2 little girls with matching eyes that mirrored his own. They deserved better. Lena deserved better. I'm staying, he said firmly. All night. All week. As long as she needs. The doctor nodded, approving. They'll need stability, routine, someone they trust. A small voice piped up. We trust Daddy. Alexander's chest tightened so violently he nearly gasped. The doctor offered a warm smile and left. Alexander turned back to Lena, stepping closer to her bedside. The twins followed, each holding one of his hands. He brushed a strand of hair from her forehead and whispered, "I'm here now. I'm not running again." One of the girls tugged his arm. "Daddy, will Mommy wake up if we hold her hand?" His breath trembled. "Maybe." They each reached out with their tiny hands, touching Lena's fingers gently like she was made of glass. Alexander placed his hand over theirs. A fragile, heartbreaking picture of a family finally coming together. Minutes passed. Hours felt like seconds. Then Lena's fingers twitched. Alexander gasped quietly. "Lena." Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, weakly. Her voice was barely there. "The girls. They're right here," Alexander said quickly. "We're all here." Her gaze moved from her daughters to him. Something fragile and emotional flickered across her face. "Alex," she whispered. "Yeah," he murmured, leaning closer. "I'm not leaving again." A tear slid from the corner of her eye. "Promise." He swallowed hard. "Promise." The twins hugged her arm, whispering, "We love you, Mommy." Lena's lips curved weakly. Then her gaze drifted to Alexander, again filled with pain, hope, and years of unspoken words. "Don't disappear." He squeezed her hand, his voice breaking. "Never again." And for the first time in 5 years, Lena closed her eyes, not from exhaustion but from relief. Alexander remained at her bedside. The twins curled up beside him, their small hands still intertwined with his. He watched Lena's chest rise and fall steadily, the monitors now rhythmically beeping with a softer, steadier tone. Relief flooded through him, but guilt lingered, sharp and biting. 5 years of absence. 5 years of missed moments. He would never forgive himself for that. He leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I'm here, Lena. I'm not going anywhere. I promise," he whispered. The weight of those words wasn't just for her, it was a vow to himself, to never abandon them again. The twins giggled softly, pressing their cheeks against their mother, whispering, "We missed you, Mommy." Tears welled up in Alexander's eyes as he realized what they had endured without him, and what he had missed. Hours passed, but Alexander stayed by her side, holding her hand, reassuring her in a quiet voice, stroking her hair, and occasionally glancing at the twins, ensuring they felt safe. Slowly, Lena stirred more fully, opening her eyes with a faint smile. She reached for Alexander, her fingers brushing his. "You're here," she whispered, voice weak but steady. "Always," Alexander said firmly, "and I'll be here for every day after this. For both of you." The room was quiet except for soft breaths and gentle sighs. In that moment, the past 5 years, the heartbreak, the absence, all melted away. Alexander finally understood that love wasn't about grand gestures, it was about being present, showing up when it mattered the most. The twins climbed into the bed carefully, wrapping themselves around their mother. Lena looked at Alexander, her eyes glistening, and whispered, We're a family again." Alexander's chest swelled with emotion. "Yes, we are, and I'm never letting go." As dawn crept softly through the hospital window, the room was filled not with fear or regret, but with fragile, resilient hope. Alexander, Lena, and their daughters finally truly together faced a new beginning, a second chance at the family they all deserved. The long night of pain, uncertainty, and tears had ended, and for the first time in years, Alexander felt whole.